What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down, what moved it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So NIO did close in the green, 0.71%, 706 the low, 733 the high. So didn't even come close to that $7 range today. Yesterday it was kind of flirting pretty much most of the day with it up until pretty much the last hour or so. But today definitely was a big improvement, despite there being not that much in actual catalyst. So today there was no speculative topics on any of the main EVs, Chinese EVs of course, no news, no SEC filings or anything. So it was doing rather well. So I think today was more technical driven. At the same time, shorts, they were the main culprit on what caused this nice spike. Again, $1 million question is why, but during that time frame, they did return about 1.8 million shares. By the end of the day, they were kind of going back and forth. They did only end up returning about 362,000, again, net by the end, but 10.43% of the free floats being shorted works out to be 144.42 million shares overall being shorted. So shorts are going back to kind of their mood of returning a lot. So it does look like in the short term, it did peak at 12.29%. So definitely good to see that they're moving in the right direction. Even though DTC has gone down about 56% over the last 3 months, still sitting at 1.79 days, signaling that shorts are overextended. So definitely good to see. And I feel like possibly even leading into NIO's upcoming earnings, which hasn't been announced yet. Most likely it will be the second or third week of November. That will be enough to really push it to kind of new lows and possibly even single digit, which possibly might come sooner rather than later, maybe even early next week. Aside from that though, looking at the options, we did have 4.6 million in calls, 1.5 in puts. 49% of all the options being done were bearish in nature, and most of that was while NIO was spiking. So clearly some institutions kind of bet on the downside a little bit. One of the biggest points for NIO's volume today was linked to algorithmic trading, and that's been somewhat the case for the last week. So AI has been really moving NIO kind of freely how it wants in either direction. So for instance, today we did have 39.6 million in volume, 70.2 is the average. So a little bit on the low end, but you can kind of see on the dark pool, it was a little bit more popular than what it has. So of course, by shorts returning, it kind of signals that hedge funds were kind of buying behind the scenes. So definitely good to see big money somewhat trading there. As far as the smaller institutions on the secondary market, didn't really see all that much. So we did see 3 transactions overall, 2 sells. One was at 833, other one was at 9, and then you did have a buy for 159,000 at 903. So still, this is why I like to bring up where the volume does come from. So it goes to show that hedge funds were buying today. Algorithmic trading was also making up for a good chunk of the volume, and surprisingly, shorts, and they seem to be in a returning type of mood today. Aside from that, quickly going back over here, so from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be above roughly 750 to possibly even 8 going into by the end of this week. Then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 7. So given the fact that where we are, there's a lot more upside anticipated. But as of today, there hasn't been any new analyst ratings or any changes to any of the key metrics that generally the market does care about. Once we get closer to their unannounced earnings date, then possibly you might see some more activity coming from analysts, but even lately they've been dormant. So I don't know if there's some hiatus that they're on or something like that, but it definitely is rather odd with it closing at 714, smack dab in the middle between his R1 and the pivot. So $7 and 783 is going to be very strong support and resistance points. Quickly looking at the 4 hour. So for those of you that are day traders, swing traders, it landed exactly on this R2. So 729 and then 704 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points, kind of levels to watch for tomorrow. So it landed exactly on this R2. So just kind of watch and see whether it can break above that. Ultimately today we kind of touched both the R3 and this R1. So a lot of volatility. So I think overall NIO is a pretty good day trade or even a swing trade. But I think generally we should be seeing some higher highs. The fact that that $7 range has not been touched today is very telling of where clearly NIO wants to go. Aside from that, it is still above that 10-day moving average. A lot more willing buyers today than yesterday. Seems to have opened up a little bit more, so you can technically see a nice push to around that 741, on which there's another strong wall of sellers. But if NIO gets that nice gentle push from the broader market, then you'll see a test of that potential 52-week high again. So I think big things will be coming. It's just a matter of time. Looking at the stochastic RSI, it is breaking off of the oversold status, still somewhat neutral in nature, so it is at 50. So of course, if NIO was to put out something good, speculative or whatever, and generally I think the market's very much moved NIO if we get operational updates, so kind of signaling that we have good demand for ES8 or something, then kind of we should see a little bit more of an additional push, and that might be enough to break it past this kind of strong wall right there. Looking at the flow right here, you do see a lot more kind of algorithmic trading from the volume. And just to give you a quick summary, this is something I brought up, I believe it was 2 videos ago, is that you are seeing less and less actual like crazy swings associated to short. So I think they are starting to smarten up and start to kind of generally return, and that's been the case for the last couple months. So I think in general, big things are coming for NIO. So let me know your viewpoint on that. A couple of things. This is some of the unusual activities, and so I tend to like to sort it based on large single leg transactions and primarily focus on out of the money ones. That goes to show that institutions are actually betting on a movement. And so you do see in the short term a little bit more bullishness, and then the rest seem to be somewhat bearish, which is rather odd. Again, it's kind of hard to tell for context. Some of this could be hedging, but again, just wanted to bring this up. Nonetheless, if you are bullish on NIO, this is something I brought up even when it was at like 650, 670 most recently. If you did feel that $7 was on the table, you could have easily made a lot more money with options. So for instance, even right now, if you feel that, let's say NIO is going to go to, let's say 820, just throwing out a random number, post their upcoming earnings, you can easily just put out December 5th and you can make 57.71% on a long call. And that's assuming, obviously it goes in that direction, but this common stock would go up 14.85%. So you can make some pretty good money through options. Or again, if you are bearish and feel like it's going to go down to, let's say 550, for instance, from their earnings, you can make 145% on a long put, and versus you'd make 23% on the common stock. So whether you're bullish or bearish, definitely consider doing options. Of course, I'm not here to get you to buy nor to sell. I generally like what NIO is doing, but a lot of these videos are just neutral in nature, so unbiased and everything else. So hopefully you do appreciate that type of mentality, but nonetheless, take the time to research options. It can be very, very profitable and very beneficial. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.